The tennis world was still reeling from Alexandra Eala's emotional first-round exit at the French Open. The tears in the locker room after Regine Velasquez's video message had touched millions. But that was supposed to be the end of the story, until it wasn't. Just 48 hours after her loss to Iva Jovic, a new controversy erupted. Not about her serve, not about her ranking, about you, about the fans, about a moment captured on camera that made the entire tennis community choose sides. A heated exchange between Alex and a section of the Roland Garros crowd went viral. Some called it disrespectful, others called it justified. And for 2 full weeks, Alexandra Eala said absolutely nothing. No Instagram post, no press conference, no tweet, just complete silence. The speculation grew louder. Did she crack under pressure? Was she angry at the fans? Had the weight of being the Filipina tennis icon finally become too heavy? Then, on the eve of the Wimbledon grass court season, she broke her silence, and what she said has shocked everyone. Today on TopSpin, we are breaking down exactly what happened in Paris, what the video really shows, and why Alex Eala's response might be the most mature statement you will ever hear from a 21-year-old athlete. Subscribe to TopSpin for more exclusive coverage and the latest tennis news from around the world. To understand why Alexandra Eala's silence was so deafening, you first need to understand what happened on Court Suzanne Lenglen on May 26, 2026. The match between Eala and Iva Jovic was already emotionally charged. 2 friends, 2 rising stars, one representing the Philippines, the other representing the United States. But the atmosphere inside the stadium was not neutral. Roland Garros has always had a unique crowd. The French fans are passionate, vocal, and unapologetically biased. They cheer for the underdog, they boo when they disagree with calls, and sometimes they cross the line. From the very first game of the match, a small but loud section of the crowd began targeting Eala. It started subtly, whistles when she was about to serve, shouts in French that most international viewers could not understand. But as the match progressed and Eala began to struggle, the noise grew louder. By the second set, when Eala was down 0-3, the same section of fans began chanting something in unison, a French phrase that roughly translates to, "Go home, you don't belong here." The cameras caught Eala glancing toward the stands. Her expression was not angry, it was confused, then hurt, then something else, resolve. She turned back to the court, wiped her forehead, and served an ace. But the damage was done. The moment was captured. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, tennis forums across the globe exploded with debate. Some fans argued that the French crowd was simply being passionate, that this was part of the sport, that players need to have thicker skin. Others called it outright xenophobia, racism, and bullying. The French Tennis Federation released a brief statement saying they do not condone any form of harassment and would review stadium security protocols. But no apology was issued, no fans were ejected, and Alexandra Eala said nothing. In the days that followed, the controversy did not die down, it grew. Filipino fans, already emotional after Regine Velasquez's video message, now had a new reason to rally behind their tennis heroine. Hashtags like Respect Eala and Stop Asian Hate trended in the Philippines. Major news outlets, including the BBC, CNN International, and ABS-CBN, picked up the story. Tennis legends weighed in. Martina Navratilova tweeted, quote, "I've played in front of hostile crowds my whole career. There's a difference between passion and prejudice. What happened to Eala was unacceptable." End quote. Even Coco Gauff, during her post-match press conference after winning her own first-round match, was asked about the incident. Gauff said, quote, "I haven't seen the full video, but I know Alex personally, and she's one of the kindest people on tour. No player deserves to feel unwelcome anywhere." End quote. But through it all, Eala remained silent. Her Instagram account, usually active with training photos and inspirational quotes, went dark. Her Twitter account, which she used primarily for announcements, posted nothing. Her team refused all interview requests. For 2 weeks, the tennis world waited. And then, on June 10, 2026, just days before the start of the grass court season at the Queen's Club Championships in London, Alexandra Eala finally spoke. June 10, 2026, a Wednesday morning in London. Alexandra Eala walks into a small conference room at the Queen's Club. She is wearing a simple white shirt and black joggers. No makeup, no jewelry, just her. For the first time in 14 days, she is facing the media. The room is packed. Journalists from the Philippines, France, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Japan have all gathered. Camera shutters click furiously as Eala takes her seat behind the microphone. She does not smile, she does not frown. She simply looks at the assembled reporters with calm, steady eyes. Then she begins to speak, and what she says is not what anyone expected. Eala does not attack the French fans. She does not play the victim. She does not demand apologies or punishments. Instead, she does something far more powerful. She humanizes everyone involved. Quote, "I have had 2 weeks to think about what happened in Paris. 2 weeks of silence, not because I had nothing to say, but because I wanted to make sure that when I did speak, my words would come from a place of clarity, not emotion." End quote. She then described exactly what she heard and felt during that moment on Court Suzanne Lenglen. Quote, "Yes, I heard the chants. Yes, they hurt. I am 21 years old. I am human. When hundreds of people tell you that you do not belong, for a split second, you start to believe them." End quote. But then she paused, took a breath, and continued. Quote, "But here is what I also saw. I saw a young French girl in the front row, maybe 10 years old, holding a small Philippine flag. She was cheering for me. I saw an elderly couple to my left who applauded after every point I won, even when I was losing. I saw my team in the players' box, my coach, my trainer, my physio, who have sacrificed everything to be by my side. And I saw Iva, my friend, across the net, who gave me a hug after the match and told me she was proud of me." End quote. Eala then said something that made the entire room go silent. Quote, "I refuse to let a few voices define my experience at Roland Garros. I refuse to let hate win, because if I do that, then they win, and I am not a loser." End quote. She went on to address the fans directly, not the ones who chanted against her, but the ones who supported her. Quote, "To every Filipino who stayed up until 3 a.m. to watch me play, to every tennis fan who sent me a message of encouragement, to every person who has ever felt like an outsider and found the courage to keep going, this is for you. I am still here, I am still fighting, and I will never, ever give up." End quote. She did not call for an investigation. She did not demand that the French Tennis Federation punish anyone. She simply asked for one thing. Quote, "Next time you are in a stadium and you see a player who is struggling, who is losing, who is far from home, maybe instead of shouting, try clapping. Instead of booing, try cheering. You never know how much your kindness might mean to someone." End quote. And with that, she stood up, nodded at the reporters, and walked out of the room. No follow-up questions, no dramatic exit, just the quiet dignity of a young woman who had chosen grace over grievance.
Within minutes of Eala's statement, the tennis world exploded again, but this time for an entirely different reason. Former players, current players, journalists, and fans all rushed to social media to share their reactions. The overwhelming response was positive, even emotional. Filipina tennis legend and former doubles world #1, whose name we will not use here for privacy, tweeted, quote, "That is how a champion responds. Not with anger, not with revenge, with class. Alex Eala is a credit to our country and to our sport." End quote. American tennis star Frances Tiafoe, known for his own struggles with crowd behavior early in his career, posted a short video on Instagram. In it, he said, quote, "Man, Alex just dropped one of the coldest press conferences I've ever seen. No yelling, no crying, just facts. That's grown folks' business right there. Respect." End quote. Even Iva Jovic, the very player who had defeated Eala in Paris, took to Twitter to show her support. Jovic wrote, quote, "This is my friend. This is the Alex I know. Strong, kind, and unstoppable. So proud of you." End quote. But not everyone was impressed. A small but vocal minority of tennis commentators and fans argued that Eala was being too soft, that she should have spoken out sooner. Her silence had allowed the controversy to fester. One French sports columnist wrote in Le Monde, quote, "Eala's statement is noble but misplaced. The crowd at Roland Garros is part of the sports culture. If she cannot handle it, perhaps clay court tennis is not for her." End quote. The article was widely condemned, even by other French journalists, but it highlighted an uncomfortable truth. Even in victory, even in grace, there will always be critics. There will always be people who tell you that you are too sensitive, that you should toughen up, that the world is harsh, and you need to accept it. But here is what those critics miss. Alex Eala did not ask the world to change for her. She asked the world to be better. And there is a difference. The most powerful reaction, however, came not from the tennis world, but from the Philippines. Across the country, from the bustling streets of Manila to the quiet provinces of Cebu and Davao, people stopped to watch Eala's statement. It played on every major news network. It was shared thousands of times on Facebook. It became the #1 trending topic on Twitter Philippines for 3 consecutive days. For many Filipinos, Eala's words were not just about tennis. They were about the experience of being Filipino in a world that often dismisses, overlooks, or marginalizes them. They were about the overseas workers who endure abuse and homesickness to provide for their families, about the students who study twice as hard to prove they belong, about the immigrants who build new lives in foreign countries while being told they will never be welcome. Eala had spoken for all of them, and they heard her.
If you were watching this video, you might be wondering, why did Alexandra Eala wait 2 weeks to say anything? In the age of social media, where celebrities are expected to respond to controversies within hours, a 2-week silence feels like an eternity. But here's the truth. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. And in Eala's case, silence was survival. Let us break down what those 2 weeks actually looked like for her. On May 26th, she lost the match. On May 27th, the Regine Velasquez video surfaced. On May 28th, the fan controversy exploded. By May 29th, every major sports outlet in the world was asking for an interview, and Eala's team said no. Not because they had nothing to say, but because Alexandra Eala was not ready to say it. In her Queen's Club press conference, Eala revealed something deeply personal about those 2 weeks. Quote, "After Paris, I did not touch my phone for 3 days. I went to my hotel room, I closed the curtains, and I just slept. I did not watch the news, I did not read the comments. I just needed to breathe." End quote. She then spent the next week training, not talking, not posting, just hitting balls on a practice court in London, away from cameras, away from reporters, away from the noise. Her coach later told a Filipino reporter that Eala had a simple rule during that time. Quote, "No tennis media, no French Open talk, just work." End quote. And then, on June 9th, the day before her press conference, Eala sat down with a notebook and a pen. She wrote her statement by hand. She revised it 4 times. She read it out loud to her coach and her mother. Only when she felt that every word was exactly right did she agree to speak. This is not the behavior of someone who is fragile. This is the behavior of someone who is disciplined, someone who understands that words have power and that once spoken, they cannot be taken back. In an era where athletes are pressured to react immediately, to post hot takes, to fuel the content machine, Eala chose the opposite path. She chose to process, to reflect, to heal. And when she finally spoke, her words carried the weight of 2 weeks of careful thought, not 2 minutes of raw emotion. There is a lesson here for all of us. In moments of controversy or conflict, our first instinct is often to respond immediately, to defend ourselves, to set the record straight. But sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Sometimes silence allows us to see things more clearly, to understand our own emotions before we project them onto the world, to ensure that when we do speak, we speak from a place of strength, not weakness. Alex Eala understood this at 21 years old. Most adults never learn it.
The controversy is over. The statement has been made. The world has reacted. Now it is time to play tennis again. Because at the end of the day, Alexandra Eala is not a controversy. She is not a hashtag. She is not a symbol. She is a tennis player. And tennis players are measured not by what they say, but by what they do on the court. As we record this video, Eala is in London preparing for the Queen's Club Championships, which begin on June 15, 2026. This is a WTA 500 event, one of the most important tune-ups for Wimbledon. The field is stacked. Players like Coco Gauff, Ons Jabeur, and defending champion Jessica Pegula are all competing. Eala is not seeded. She will have to fight for every match. But if there is one thing we have learned about Alex Eala, it is that she is a fighter. Her draw at Queen's Club has not yet been announced, but regardless of who she faces, the pressure will be immense. Every journalist will be watching, every fan will be remembering Paris, and every opponent will know that Eala has been through an emotional storm. Some players crumble under that kind of scrutiny, but if Eala's press conference was any indication, she is not most players. She has already shown that she can handle hate. She has already shown that she can handle silence. Now she must show that she can handle winning again. Looking further ahead, Wimbledon begins on June 29, 2026. Last year, Eala lost in the first round to Barbora Krejcikova. This year, she will be hoping for a different result. The grass surface suits her game in some ways. Her flat ground strokes stay low, making them difficult to attack. Her movement, while not elite on clay, translates well to the faster grass courts.
And her return of serve, one of the best on tour, becomes even more dangerous when opponents cannot rely on heavy topspin to push her back. But there are also challenges. Her own serve remains a vulnerability, especially on grass, where first serve percentage is critical. And the mental toll of the past month cannot be underestimated. Even the strongest minds need time to recover from emotional trauma. The question is not whether Eala can play well at Wimbledon. The question is whether she can play free. Because when she is free, when she is not carrying the weight of a nation on her shoulders, when she is just Alex from the Rafa Nadal Academy playing the sport she loves, she is capable of beating anyone. In her press conference, Eala was asked what her goal is for the grass court season. Her answer was simple, quote, "I want to enjoy myself, I want to play the way I know I can play, and I want to make the Filipino people proud. If I do those three things, the results will take care of themselves," end quote. That is the mindset of a champion, not obsessed with rankings or results, but focused on process, on joy, on connection. Alex Eala has already proven that she belongs on the biggest stages in tennis. Now she must prove that she belongs among the winners, and if the past month has taught us anything, it is that counting her out would be a very foolish thing to do. So here is where we stand. The French Open fan controversy is behind her. The statement has been delivered. The world has weighed in. Now the only thing left is tennis. Alexandra Eala is back on the practice court. The grass is green, the sun is shining, and the journey continues. Whatever happens at Queen's Club and Wimbledon, one thing is certain. Alex Eala is not going anywhere. She is here to stay, and she is just getting started. Subscribe to TopSpin for more exclusive coverage and the latest tennis news from around the world.